Bonjour à tous. Hello to everyone. My name is Magali Girard. I'm the Executive Director of KICS, the Quebec Inter-University Center for Social Statistics. And it is my pleasure today for today's webinar to welcome Huju Liu from Statcan as part of our midi webinar or brown bag webinar series. And so with these webinars, we aim at KICS to regularly have analysts from Statcan or Institut de la Statistique du Québec to give presentations on data sets available to researchers. And today, Huju will do a presentation on the Business Employee Analytical Microdata, or BEAM, which is of high interest to many of our researchers. Huju is a principal researcher in the Economic and Analysis Division at Statcan. So thank you so much for giving a presentation today. The format is always pretty much the same. Huju will do a 25-30 minutes presentation followed by a Q&A period, and we finish around 1 p.m. So please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available soon on our YouTube channel. And les sous-titres en français devraient être activés fonctionnels. Il y a des tests qui ont été faits il n'y a pas si longtemps. Tout devrait fonctionner. So again, thank you so much, Huju, and I'll leave the room to you.
Thank you, Magali. Bonjour tout le monde. Merci pour l'invitation et l'opportunité de faire la présentation sur la microdonnées analytiques sur les entreprises et les employés. My name is Huju Liu. I'm working in Statistics Canada. So today I'm going to make a presentation on the business employee and analytical microdata. Okay, so I show my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep, absolutely. You can put it in presentation mode.
All right, perfect. Okay, so I turn up the French caption, the subtitle, so you can. Oh, it's working out. So you can, you know, if you don't, so you can look at the French subtitle while talking. All right. So the plan of this presentation is, so first I'm going to introduce you. Yeah.
Just sorry, there is a little like app Zoom is sharing your screen. Could you just hide the little mention on your screen? Oh, thank you. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, so first I'm going to present you the background and why we create the BIM, and then how we create the BIM. And next I'm going to show you what kind of information including the BIM, and how you can access the BIM. And then in the end, so this is question and the feedback period. And the BIM has been released, I think almost a year. So now it's a good time to, you know, get some feedback from you so we can improve it next time. So why we create the BIM? So over the past several years, there's increasing demand to integrate the data from various domains, right, to provide the research insight that can inform how Canadians are affected by broad economic social trend. So previously, these requests are basically accommodated from by the custom extraction from the Canadian employer-employee dynamics database linkage environment, if you recall that, the SEED. The way we do that is basically for each demand request, we extract the data, right? And then initially this extraction are made available in the Canadian Center for Data Development and Economic Research at Statcan office. Some of you maybe still remember, if you back a long time ago, you have to come to Statcan head office to use the data. Then in 2021, we tried to make the data available, extraction available in the Research Data Center as a result of data access modernization. So this existing business model of the seed has caused a few problems. So first one is causing duplication inefficiency because each time we have to extract the data and many of the same variable are extracted repeatedly. And second, you have to generate the financial burden for some of the researcher, especially for the students, graduate student, and the young scholar, because each time extraction has been charged. So that's why we create the beam. So the beam is a single and one-time a standard extraction from the seed environment with a selected variable. At the beam, the purpose is for research or exploratory purpose, which means it's solely for analytical research, or if you want to do the a feasibility study before you fully implement your project, that's also possible. This variable is selected based on what are normally research requested, right, from the past project, and also our own research. The beam, including all the individual that filed T1 income tax return, also including all the paid employee who are issued a T4 slip. It also included all corporation that filed T2 corporation return and all unincorporated business with a valid business number. So initial release is including all data from 2001 to 2019. And the data will be updated each year. So I'll talk about that later. All the observation in the data set has been, the ID has been scrambled, replaced with the synthetic ID. So the benefit of the beam, so first of all, it's standard extraction from seed, right? So can help us to serve Canadian more efficiently. And the second, we put in the RDC to improve data access for a much wider research community. So I believe there's no charge for the beam data extraction. Okay, unlike the previous seed extraction, I believe that there's no charge for data access for university affiliated research, including the faculty and graduate students. The beam also including rich demographic information of the individual and the business. So it allowed, for more research using disaggregated data, and it can support research on various topics and help us better understand the Canadian economy and the labor market. So what the source data we use to create the beam? It's including two level, right? Individual level and the business level. For the individual data, we using the T1, the personal master file that we Statcan received and processed from CRA. We use the T4 statement of remuneration. We use the record employment from ESDC, which is the employer had to issue for layoff, which gave information on the job separation. We also use the longitudinal immigration database from based on the data from the RDCs Immigration Canada. On the business side, we use a national account longitudinal microdata file, which is a combination of the several different data files. That's including T2 and business register, which is a universal business, active business in Canada. That's processed by Statcan. We have the payroll deduction and the remittance. All the employer in Canada had to remit the payroll and the tax reduction to the CRA. We also have information on the import and export. For the unincorporated business, we use the T1 business declaration. That's similar as T2, which include information on the financial and financial information of the business, unincorporated business. We also create additional database that is diversity and scale database, which provide the information on the business ownership and the workforce composition at the business level. So this slide shows you basically how we link the BIM. So you can see there's 3 set of files with different colors. Right? On the left, there's 2 files with orange colored. These two set of files are the business level file. And the first one incorporate business, and the second one unincorporate business. In this file, each observation is a unique business, okay, with a unique business identifier. And on the right, you have a light blue colored file, which is individual level file. That's including individual T1 PMF and also the immigrant data file. In this data file data set, each observation is unique individual and with the unique identifier, individual identifier. In the middle, the green one is its T4 and IOE file. It's at both business and individual level. Okay, for example, for each business, you will have multiple record of the individual employee, right? Or if you think another way, for each employee, you will have multiple record of the job the employee has, similar for the record employment. So the green file, so the T4 and T4 file serve as a bridge between the business level, a business file on the left, and individual file on the right, right? Because it has 2 identifier, business and individual identifier. If you link this one to the left, you can find information. You can link to the business and then find information on their characteristic. And if you link this to the right, you can find characteristic of individual, including age, demographic, and earning, and other characteristic. And this is also how we suggest the research to link your data when you start to use the data in RDC. So this is what you should see in RDC. This is the set of the output data file from the BIM. As I mentioned before, it's including 3 levels of file. First is business file. Second set is the individual level file, and then the third level is job level. For the business level file, you have a set of file incorporate and a set of unincorporate file. Starting from 2001, but for unincorporate, the first year is 2005, since that's the first year data available. On the individual side, you have T1 PMF starting from 2001, and for the immigrants, you have a set of file starting from 1980. So the IMDb is only including, for now, it's only including the immigrant and non-permanent. Only including the permanent resident and the temporary resident starting from 1980. So you have this information on the permanent resident, and also you have information on the temporary resident at the person level and also at the permit level. And you have a file, a concordance file between the IMDb ID and the case number ID, which allow you to link between the IMDb file and the T1 PMF file. In the end, you have a job level file. It's added the T4 ROE file, and then it has both case number, individual ID identifier, and also the enterprise identifier. So what kind of information including the BIM? On the individual side, is including demographic, right, such as the age, gender, and marital status. You're also including the income variable, such as T4, subcomponent income, investment income, and other income, and also total income. On the job separation side, including the permanent job separation or the temporary job separation. You have the reason for why the employee was separate from the employer. You also have the job starting and end date. For immigrant status, including information such as education, official language ability, and the immigration admission category and also the source country, etc. On the business side, include information on industry, province. I believe industry at this moment is only 2-digit, including variables such on the performance, such as the payroll, the employment, asset liability, and the revenue, profit, investment, R&D, expenditure, information on import, export, and also the value added. Additionally, you also include information on the profile of the ownership, such as whether the business is owned majority by women or men or by immigrants, for example. Also, the profile of the employee within the firm, for example, the percentage of immigrant employee within the firm, or the percentage of the women employee within the firm. Yeah, so as the BIM has released almost for a year, and we have received a number of projects, and here is a few examples that's the proved project using the BIM. For example, there's a project looking at the correlation between the aging population and the firm hire decision. Right? There's project to look at how the minimum wage affect on the labor market concentration in Canada. Project to look at how people climb job ladder in Canada, and how the wage disclosure policy in the public sector affect on the wage of the private sector. How the immigrants are settled down in a different industry, particularly in the low-paying industry. The impact of the internal trade liberalization on the wage and the labor mobility, and how the search friction in the labor market affect on the wage inequality. So the focus on the research focus on the interaction between the firm and the individual. Right? As I said, the initial release has been the initial BIM had been released last year, 2023. For the initial release, we included all the information from 2001 to 2019. The user guide and data dictionary available online. For the future release, it will be annual release, and it will be coordinated with the updated seed. Okay. The new vintage with the date up to 2020 will be released in 2024 spring. Okay, soon. And at each release, the new data and variable may be added, depending on the demand and the feedback. So it's important to to gather your feedback, so we can improve, we can change the data and the variable in the next time. So we hope that the BIM can accommodate the most need, right? So you can use the BIM to do your research, but there will be situation where the BIM cannot fit your research, and in those situations, the custom seed extraction will be necessary and will be fate-based. And it's also possible to to combine the BIM already available in the RDC and custom seed extraction, and so we can make available the seed extraction available in the RDC, so you can link the two yourself. Here the procedure how to access the BIM. So if you have already tried to access other data set in RDC, so we use the same application portal, the microdata access portal. One of the important document required in the process application is research proposal. So we ask whether we ask your question be well defined, okay, and you justify your data needs, why your research question need the BIM, and how the BIM can help you to answer your question, and no other data set can. So although the BIM including the data at individual, business, and the job level, and the access to the BIM component file is on the need-to-know basis. Right? For example, if if one project only need to look at the data at business level, then we'll give you the access only to the business level data. We won't give you the data access to the individual level. So that's just a way to protect the data confidentiality. And then we follow the standard RDC approval process. Lastly, I think, yeah. So here's the website, the CRDCN website, the data dictionary and the list variables available at the CRDCN website. You can check yourself to see what information is available, whether that is good for your research before you write a proposal and apply. And if you have any question, you can contact your local RDC analyst, or you can send us email to the EED Data Access Champion. We'll respond to your question. And I think that's the end of my presentation. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to make presentation on the BIM, and I'm looking forward to your question and feedback on the database. Thank you.
Thank you, Huju. So I welcome everybody to use the Q&A section or the chat, or, since we are under 20 people, maybe you can raise your hand and ask your questions directly. Yeah. Well, while we're waiting for people to think of questions, you mentioned that there may be some projects or research questions that cannot be answered by the BIM. I was wondering if you could speak in more details on the limitations of the BIM, giving the sensitivity of the data, and also sometimes you have different disclosure procedures for business level data. So if you could speak of the possible limitations, or
Yeah, so as I said in the presentation, the current available NAICS code, industry code in the database is 2-digit, right? I think I already received some the question from researcher that saying that it's not sufficient for their project. But BIM is a general; it's like a bit database generalized for all the researcher. To protect the confidentiality data, we have to restrict at 2-digit level.
Okay.
And then the one solution for this project will be, after approval, then we can create the additional list of the NAICS code, which probably 3-digit level, and then we send it to the RDC, where the researcher can link to the existing BIM database for facilitate their research. So it will be there's some situation where we can find a solution to solve the problem. Yeah.
Thank you. I can see a question from HSC and the team at Yann Descaries. Oui.
Hi, François Laliberté. Wondering if you can, is it possible to follow immigrants that are non-permanent resident at the beginning and change to permanent resident, because they change SIN number, but our understanding is that in the immigration database they can be followed. So is it possible in BIM to follow them when they transition from non-permanent to permanent?
Yeah. So in the immigrant data file, there's 2 files. One is called permanent resident file. Another one is called non-permanent file, right? So for but these 2 persons should have the same IMDb ID. So which is ID assigned by the RCC to the unique applicant, and you can use that to trace the individual before and after it's becoming the permanent resident. And also in the BIM, the SIN number has been cross-referenced. So which means if people changing the SIN number, we already convert to the unique SIN number. Okay, so the same individual should have the same number over time.
Thank you. We were under the impression that was the case, but it's better to confirm before. Thank you.
And there's one question in the chat. It's asking what level of geography is available? We are aiming at looking at city dynamics.
I believe it's at provincial level. As I said, based on the project. So if we see no concern for confidentiality, so we can create additional geography variable, and you can link to the existing BIM database in RDC.
There's one more question. Est-ce qu'il y a des règles de confidentialité spécifiques à ce fichier lors de la diffusion des résultats? So are there any specific disclosure procedures specific to the BIM compared to the standard rules at Statistics Canada? And please distinguish between individual level and business level.
Yeah, I guess because it's a BIM, it's a matched employee database. So we apply the business rule in the end to validate data. So which means you are much stricter than the individual only. I think the RDC, there is a document. Once the project's approved, and then RDC has a document for the research to follow, how to check and verify the confidentiality of the data. There's a rule regarding the regression. There's a rule regarding the tabulation summary statistic. And my suggestion is, try to keep your summary statistic as less as possible, and then focus on the regression, which is more easier to disclose, more easier to pass the disclosure rule. And then even for the summary statistics, you don't do the summary statistic as multiple dimension, right? Only do it 1 or 2 dimension. Or you can, if you have multiple dimension, you can do it, a few table instead of in one table in doing 4 or 5 dimension. That will increase the risk of the disclosure. So each project is different, so it's really hard to tell. But as I said, there's document available in the RDC, which show the research how to do the rule. And then there's also another thing I want to mention is because the match between employer and employee, and sometimes if you just, for certain industry, if there's only 1 or 2 employer within the industry, even though you're not looking at the employer per se, but if you just look at the employee, but because only 1 or 2 employee firm available in that industry, so it will also increase the risk of disclosure of the 1 or 2 player in the industry. So something the researcher should be aware at the time the conducting research, and then try to avoid the disclosure problem from the beginning, not in the end or in the middle of the analyze. Realize the problem, then you have to redo all the analysis from the beginning.
Thank you. Are there any? Okay, so it says thank you from the researcher. Are there any other questions from attendees or comments for Huju? Yeah, if there are no further questions, well, thank you so much, Huju, for the time you took to give this presentation. And à tout le monde, je vais vous voir à une prochain midi webinaire. Thank you so much.
May I add something? Huju will provide his presentation in French, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes.
Yeah, perfect. So it will be added on our website at the same place that the webinar was announced on the website. So you can look at the presentation from Huju, and I will put the editing of this video on our YouTube channel starting probably next week. On Monday should be online. And if you follow us on our social media, you will have a notification when the webinar will be online on our YouTube channel. And I will provide the link right here. So you can
Right.
that too.
Merci, Pascal. Super. Thank you
And
all.
also, the
Oui.
last, just the last comment. If you have any comments or feedback on how to improve the database, please send to us the email including the PowerPoint. So we'll really appreciate it.
Good point. Thank you. All right. Bonjour tout le monde. Bye.
Merci. Bonne journée.